Hey guys, Midsala here. Sorry for spacing my videos so much apart. Was out of town. When I got back and started working on this one, got through to the end just to realize that my first audio was unusable. So I had to re-record the whole thing. That's why my voice might seem a bit strange in the first and second part of the video, because they were recorded in two separate sections. Also, finding pictures for this one was a bit complicated because of the years and the various championships, so please forgive me if the photos are not precise of the season. I hope you enjoy this one. I already have something in my mind for my next video. Please let me know what you think I can do better. I want to try putting out the best videos possible. Thank you very much, and I'll leave you to the video. While all eyes were focused on Lamine Yamal carrying Spain to their fourth European Championship, in the United States another tournament was being followed heavily. With the early exits of USA and Mexico in the group stages and a surprise defeat handed to Brazil in the quarters, it meant that it was still wide open. In the midst of this, one team distinguished themselves above others, making it all the way to the final before being defeated by Leo Messi's Argentina in extra time. Los Cafeteros, the coffee makers, as they're called by everyone. Colombia proved to be the surprise of the tournament, topping their group before hammering Panama in the quarterfinals and defeating Uruguay in the semis. Their team had a wealth of talent including Richard Rios and Luis Diaz, but there was one player that made the whole thing tick. The silent mastermind, their captain, James El Bandido Rodriguez. Yeah, y'all remember him? He scored that banger against Uruguay and won the Golden Boot at the 2014 World Cup. Then, a couple of years at the top before he slowly vanished into obscurity. His performance at the Copa America raises a question. At 33 years of age, is this James' last ticket to play in the big leagues? To put it simply, is this his redemption arc? But first, let me give a bit of backstory. James David Rodriguez Rubio was born the 12th of July 1991 in Cúcuta, a Colombian city near the Venezuelan border. The parents Wilson James Rodriguez Bedoya and Maria del Pilar Rubio. His father was an ex-footballer, having also made it to the Colombian national team. James got his first taste of professional football at 14. Yeah, that's right, in the world of Yamals and Williams, be a James Rodriguez, making his professional debut for Envigado in 2006. At the time, they were in the Colombian 2nd Division, but a year later they would reach the top flight. In 2008, the young man, at the time still in his teens, would make the move out of his country, joining Argentine side Banfield. He'd score his first goal with a shot from outside the box against Rosario Central. This guy and long-range screamers, I wonder what it is. The goal would come in the Torneo Clausura. For his debut in the Primera División, we would have to wait a bit longer. But in the 2009 Apertura, the Argentine 1st Division, he would begin to cement his status as a regular of the team, becoming in the process the youngest foreigner to score in the top flight of Argentina. He would play 38 games, starting all of them except for one, scoring 9 times and assisting 7, helping Banfield win a historic championship, the only one up to that point. All of this at 17 years old. James' tally in the Copa Libertadores was nothing to be scoffed at, as he scored 5 times. However, he would stay in his tournament with a red card in Banfield's game against Porto Alegre, game which they ended up losing, bringing a close to his time in South America, for now, as he would sign a 4-year contract with Portuguese giants Porto, who paid Banfield €5 million to acquire his services. They also added a €30 million release clause. James repaid his contract with a stellar season, 6 goals and 18 assists, with the added bonus of winning the Europa League, the league title, the Portuguese Super Cup, and the Domestic Cup. Seriously, wherever this guy goes, he just makes history. In the 2011-2012 season, he would just continue building on what was already becoming an impressive number of goals and assists, with a career high of 25 goal contributions, scoring 14 and serving 11 for his teammates. He would also make his debut in the Champions League, assisting in a 2-1 victory over Shakhtar. At the end of the season, he would add a golden ball and a few Player of the Month to his trophy stack, and would be nominated for Breakthrough Player of the Year in the Primera Liga. This all culminated with his first call-up for Los Cafeteros in a match against Bolivia, where he would be voted man of the match after a fantastic display. His first goal wearing the yellow camiseta would come in a 1-0 win over Peru. He would become a regular feature in the side moving forward. All this, and James wasn't even a regular starter at club level yet. The following year he would change that, and would also take on the number 10. This, as you could imagine, only boosted his performances, scoring 12 goals, including a very important one against PSG to make sure Porto topped their Champions League group, he would also assist 12 more. El Bandido would just add stellar performances, confirming his status as one of the most important players for Porto. But during this season, some not so happy moments arise, as James had to miss 1 month after suffering a torn muscle in a match against Nacional. But upon returning, it was business as usual once he got back to top form, scoring and assisting, securing Porto's 3rd consecutive title, marking his 8th trophy since joining the club. In 2013, the Colombian, at the time still 21, and I imagine with a luggage full of dreams, would bring everything to Monte Carlo, signing for Monaco for 45 million euros, becoming the 2nd most expensive transfer in Portuguese football history. Along with his hefty price tag also came all the razzle-dazzle on the pitch that people were becoming accustomed to. 10 goals and 14 assists, guiding the club to a very comfortable 2nd place finish, 9 points from PSG. An early exit from the Coupe de France meant that this would be his first time in 4 years where he ended the season with no silverware, but his summer was about to get much more interesting. With the World Cup coming up, James was going into his first major tournament, and he would put in a generational performance against the world's best. In the first game he would score, closing the game as Colombia would defeat Greece 3-0. The second would see James once again on the score sheet against Ivory Coast. The third game would probably be the one people started taking notice. James came on as a substitute in the 45th minute with the score tied at 1-1 against Japan. He would assist 2 and score an additional to seal their place in the knockout round. Bear in mind, at this stage he was still 22. FIFA gave him the best performing player at the tournament up to that point. For the round of 16, James was played on the wing, having played the first 3 games as an attacking midfielder. Result? 2 goals, including one of the best goals of the season to see off Uruguay, booking their place in the quarters, where they would come up against home favourites Brazil. Oscar vs James, the battle of the talented. Ultimately, the Brazilians would prove to be a bit too much. Despite him scoring again, Colombia saw their journey interrupted. After the match, a number of big players would go on to tell a tearful James that his future was bright, and was about to get oh so very bright. He got a standing ovation from the home crowd and would be crowned the tournament's top goal scorer, making it into the team of the tournament, managing to score in every single game Colombia played in. As I said, generational performance, which would also gift us this iconic tweet from LeBron James. The summer saw his phone ring non-stop as a number of clubs wanted to acquire his services, but there was only one blue option for James. On the 22nd of July 2014, he would put on the famous white camiseta of Real Madrid, with quite the additional pressure as he was given the number 10. His debut came in the Super Cup against Sevilla. Real Madrid won 2-0 and he got his hands on his first piece of silverware as a Los Blancos player. Again, he would prove to be unfazed by all the bright lights as he put 17 goals and 18 assists on the board. This would be especially incredible considering he missed 2 months due to a metatarsal fracture. He got on especially well with the Real manager of the time, Carlo Ancelotti, as he seemed to understand immediately James' strength and limitations. He would beat Don Carlo again on 2 more occasions in future transfers to Bayern Munich and Everton. During the season, he would also add a Club World Cup to his trophy cabinet, but 2 points would ultimately be the difference separating them from title winners Barcelona. This spectacular season would see him featured on the squad list for the 2015 Copa America. His impact was less than that of 2014, but it was also the first time for him wearing the captain's armband in the tournament, as he donned it for Colombia's game against Argentina in the quarterfinals, after they made it out of the group stages. Colombia would miss out on the semis with penalties being the decider. In 2015-2016, he would face one of his toughest seasons yet, with Ancelotti leaving Real Madrid and the arrival of Rafa Benitez. One would think that under someone like him, James would flourish. Well, he didn't. He still put up a respectable 18-goal contributions, but he just simply didn't fit into the tactical system. Benitez preferred players that would track back and help with defense, but James was more an old-style number 10. He didn't run much, and though there haven't been many questions raised due to the high level of his performances, there were beginning to be people asking about his work ethic. All this coupled with a torn muscle injury making him miss out on nearly 2 months again, having to also sit out Colombia's first 2 games in the World Cup qualifiers. The following year, Real Madrid would win La Liga and also the Champions League under Zidane, but he would play a marginal role in both as injuries again kept him sidelined. He would request a loan at the end of the season in an attempt to find more playing time. His request would be accepted as Bayern Munich decided to take James on a 2-year loan with an option to buy for 42 million euros. Here he would find Carlo Ancelotti once again, but the reunion would be bittersweet, as after a few months he would get sacked in favor of Jupp Heynckes. At Bayern, with an increasing playing time, he would once again show sparks, as 8 goals and 14 assists meant Bayern won the league, but they would lose out on the Champions League final against his parent club, Real Madrid. Again, during the season, he would miss out on games due to injuries, but despite that, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, Bayern's CEO, would state this: "It was a very, very good transfer, and I have to thank Carlo Ancelotti once again." He would get called up for the World Cup in Russia, but Los Cafeteros didn't manage to replicate what happened 4 years earlier, with an early exit against England on penalties in the round of 16, game that he didn't even play due to a calf injury. In the 2018-19 season, problems persisted as his minutes were severely lessened, injuries keeping him out for several games. He found problems with the new manager Niko Kovac, who preferred, like Benitez, a more defensive style of football. James played over 1,654 minutes, scoring 7 goals and assisting 6. His loan would be up at the end of the season, and Bayern decided to not enforce his option to buy, so it meant that he was returning to Spain again under Zidane. The Frenchman sidelined him almost completely, with James having his worst season ever. He played only 14 games, a lot of injuries keeping him from full fitness, and he was out of sorts with the manager, playing 81 minutes in the Champions League and only 419 in La Liga. After picking up an injury on the 2nd of November, he pretty much did not see the field again, apart from one game against Real Sociedad, always either on the bench or sometimes not even in the squad. He would add another La Liga medal to his collection, but having had basically not contributed at all to the squad. This led James to have his contract expire and enter free agency. Don Carlo once again requested him at Everton, and James obliged, joining the Toffees on a free with a contract for 2 years. He would show signs of his undisputed quality even if he couldn't put up the same numbers he did under Ancelotti the first year. But still, out of 27 games he scored 6 goals and assisted 8. A recurring issue to his calf meant that again he missed several games, and as for the Copa America in 2021, he wasn't called up at all, having to watch the game from home. This was probably the worst few years for James, as it seemed that he was sort of in a downward spiral. It looked like he had lost that flair he showed at the start of his career. He would join Qatari team Al Rayyan, but would have his contract terminated by mutual consent a year later. His next destination would be Greece, signing for Olympiacos. He would also captain Colombia in the World Cup qualifiers. But his Greek experience wouldn't be particularly memorable, and he would see his contract terminated 9 months after. In order to be physically ready for the Copa America in 2024, he decided to join Brazilian side Sao Paulo, a club in which he still plays for to this day. He would miss several games due to a muscle injury, including a big chunk of the Copa Libertadores. But Nestor Lorenzo, the Colombian manager, still decided to call him up for the Copa America in the US. The right decision, as James played spectacularly, giving out a tournament high of 6 assists to carry Colombia all the way to the final, before ultimately falling against Argentina. But Los Cafeteros still showed that they can have a say in these big tournaments. They were the best team from set pieces, you can guess who takes them, and they showed good football. James was, like I said, the silent mastermind, the person calling the plays. He assisted the 2 goals necessary to beat Paraguay and also the winner against Uruguay. He contributed with 1 goal and 2 assists against Panama and helped the team to win against Costa Rica. All of this with the captain's armband and the number 10 on his back. Now, it's time to answer the questions I asked at the start. Could this be James' redemption arc? Maybe. I read that a few clubs submitted interest already, with Villarreal and Atletico keen to bring him back to La Liga. But what is important to note is that he's not a regular player. He's an old-style number 10 that does whatever he wants in the opponent's half, but the problematics related to a player like him are his lack of defensive contribution. He would need a coach capable of giving free rein in the middle and allowing him not to track back, sort of like how Ancelotti did with him. What is sure is that James is a player with an immense amount of talent who at a certain point had the world at his feet. His showings with Colombia, Porto, Real Madrid and Bayern Munich have long since cemented his place as one of the best left foots in the game. Wherever he goes, it would be interesting to see if he can touch the peaks he already did.